What's up, guys? Welcome to the Put Me In Coach podcast.
Where we go beyond the headlines and deep dive everything NFL.
I'm Ian.
And I'm Andy.
Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much.
News with Aaron Rodgers, who's not nearly as interesting as he used to be, but it is news. The Pittsburgh Steelers are a top 4 or 5 brand. And Aaron, over the last 15 years, has been a top 4 or 5 brand in the NFL. Discount double check guy, like a lot of ads, a lot of commercials, now some controversy. So he signed with the Steelers. But my takeaway on this is when the stories came out over the last 3 days, quarterbacks can be a lot of things in the NFL. They can be small, Kyler Murray. They can be old, Brady was, Joe Flacco. They can be unorthodox, Phillip Rivers. They can be kind of unathletic, or the second best quarterback in the family, Eli Manning. But they can't be weird.
All right.
What's that?
Getting ready to talk a little Pittsburgh Steelers, baby.
Bummer.
That is a disgusting
Joe Buck introduction.
Damn it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for joining me, and thanks for coming back. This is a really weird one. I feel like this team's been the talk of a lot of offseason stuff. I get why people are excited about it. I have a lot of trepidations with this team right now and kind of what they're doing. I want to pass it to you because I know you've kind of been following this offseason and this squad with Pittsburgh. You used to live out there, so I know you got a little bit of tie there.
Sure.
I have 2 questions, though, I want to leave you with before I give it to you. Number one, why do you buy this as a playoff team? And number 2, even if this is a playoff team, does it matter? In the sense that, you know, if a tree falls in a forest and no one's around to hear it, people ask, does it make a sound? And my answer is yes, of course it makes a sound, but if nobody can hear it, like, it doesn't matter. So my question to you is, number 1, do you believe just baseline that this is a playoff team? Are you buying it? And number 2, even if you are, does it amount to anything, or does it feel like we're on a sort of a carousel of time here in just a flat circle with this Steeler team kind of ever since Big Ben and the Steelers, the Killer Bees and all those guys have broken up? That's my
Killer Bees were
question.
so fun to watch. I'm so sick they didn't get one.
Yeah.
No, listen, it's gonna work because it's the Steelers. They're a good organization. They're well run. They've settled for slightly above mediocrity, and that's what they're always going to be. You know, Mike Tomlin led defense is going to win you anywhere from 9 to 11 games, no matter what. I don't see this season being any different than that. I think it's going. I mean, I know. I mean, is there a huge difference between Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers? I mean, that's an open-ended question. Is there a huge difference? I don't think so. No. And they won, 10 games last year? Came in second in the division?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same team. It's the same team with a quarterback who, in my opinion, is slightly better. Not by much. They're about the same, but is slightly better. And I think it's hard to say. I think you replaced a good wide receiver with another good wide receiver, but I think the wide receiver you brought in is much more of a company man than the other guy. I think George Pickens was a locker room cancer. I think so. You got rid of that. You bring in DK Metcalf. You bring in who's the running back they drafted from
Caleb Johnson, Iowa.
Caleb Johnson. I think that kid's going to be really good.
Mm-hmm.
Another year with the O-line kind of meshing. Their O-line was definitely not bad last year. I'm not sure it was good, but you know, their center Frazier is took another step last year. So he's good. I mean, I don't know. I just think they're going to be fine. I think they're going to be a 10-win team.
It's so hard to push back on this because every year I do this, I want to, because I think there's such a problem right now with, I mentioned like the tree falling in the forest reference. it's become such a cyclical thing with this team where every year it feels like they just shuffle some pieces around and the result is 9-8, 10-7. And it feels like they either just barely miss or generally they take up a wild card spot. They're a first round exit. We all know they're going to be out in the first round. And then we run it back next year with new pieces. And I mean, this team really revamped in the offseason. They flipped everything. And generally, we never, in the history of the sport, we've never seen a team have success after losing their quarterback one, their running back one, and their wide receiver one in the same offseason. Mm-hmm. But this, to me, kind of does feel like an exception. Like, all three of those guys were kind of bunk, and like
I think they were. I think Minkah Fitzpatrick was a little overblown too. I think he had become a fan favorite, kind of like a Micah Hyde over in Buffalo, right?
Ramsey's an upgrade.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Particularly if you have him play safety. I mean, I know there was talks of him playing safety. Now listen, Jalen Ramsey's a diva. You got rid of George Pickens because he was too much of a diva. And now you bring in another diva. So I don't know, that could be bad. I know Jalen Ramsey was not showing up to practice on time and was having a lot of issues in Miami, but then again, it's Miami. There's not a lot to do in Pittsburgh opposed to Miami. You know what I mean? So, you still got Cam Hayward. You still have TJ Watt, obviously, just got that giant contract. You would hope that he's going to be entirely locked in. Like I said, Zach Frazier going into year 2, I think he's going to take another step forward. And he's a really good center. I mean, he's a really good center. So if him and Aaron can get on the same page quickly, there's a lot of pieces to this team. I don't think this is a team that's going to go out there and win 12 games and win their division. But I do look at the Browns. I think they're terrible. I think it's all bad there. And I think the Bengals have a terrible defense. So I think second place in the division is right there for them. And they will definitely be good enough to be in that conversation for that last wildcard spot. That's how I feel. Now, to answer your second question, no, I don't think it's going to lead anywhere. I think they're a one and done team. Maybe they win one playoff game, but that's probably as far as they go. You would have to see like Aaron Rodgers turn back the clock 5 years to have them be anywhere different. And I don't think that's going to happen. I think coming off the injury, coming off that terrible year with the Jets and being kind of cast out and embarrassed by Aaron Glenn, who's really trying to build a culture, coming in and playing for Mike Tomlin almost feels like Mike Tomlin's doing a favor to Aaron Rodgers and not the opposite. But I think Aaron would tell you the opposite. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
Like, hey man, you need a quarterback. I'm here. It's like, yeah, no, you need a place to play. Actually, I'm cool rolling with Mason Rudolph for a year. He might not win us 10, but he'll win us 7. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have such a hard time pushing back on your point of view with this because it just feels like if Kamala Harris wins the election, if Joe Biden wins the election, if Donald Trump wins the election,
do not come.
Like whoever wins the election, the Pittsburgh Steelers are still going to go 9-10, right?
100%.
There could be nuclear warfare, and if we play football in a bunker, the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to go 9 or 10 wins, right?
I'm going to look at their schedule real fast too, because I actually haven't.
It's gettable. I looked it up before we did this. It's gettable.
Okay.
Like,
week 1 they're at the Jets. That feels like a win.
Probably a win. Yeah.
Week 2 they're at the Seahawks. Toss up, similar teams. Maybe with Sam Darnold. I'm not sure. Week 3, they're at the Patriots. That feels winnable. Week 4, they're at the Vikings, or the Vikings come there.
It's winnable. I mean, they're probably going 3-1, 2-2 at
but
least.
JJ might suck.
Yeah.
Week 5, you got to bye. Week 6, you're Browns. Then you have the Browns, Bengals, Packers. All 3 of those games feel gettable, particularly Packers, because Aaron's going back home. Or Aaron's team is coming to him. I could see that being a meaningful game for him, like needing to win. Then you got like Colts, Chargers, Bengals, Bears. Those are all gettable. Then you got Bills, Ravens. Those are probably guaranteed losses. You got the Dolphins. That's super gettable. You got the Lions. That's probably a loss. Browns again. That's obviously gettable. And then you end the season with the Ravens. Like, I don't know. That feels like 10, 11 wins are in there somewhere.
It does. No, it does.
It does. That's not a hard schedule. I mean,
So
looking at the landscape of the teams, right? I mean, you'll lose some games that you're supposed to win. You'll win some games you're supposed to lose. That's just how the NFL goes. But you're not going to look me in my eye and tell me that's not that this squad as assembled right now in that schedule is winning only 6-7 games. I'm not going to get behind that.
yeah, it's fair. Can I try to give the case anyway?
Please.
I think when I was going through this team, because I thought about it when we talked this week about what team we were going to talk about and kind of where our heads were with some of these guys. I was thinking to myself, like, why is it that I can't, like, what's funky to me? Like, what's looking weird to me? Because it's been such a big offseason for the Steelers and people are kind of buying in. And I get it. There's a lot of names that are shuffling around that are exciting. I'll talk about the defense in a second, but offensively, I want to bring up some concerns I have with just this not working potentially. First fit is Aaron and DK. I think it's a really weird fit. And I know that the talk right now is the roommate stuff of like how they're in camp together, bunking, and there's bunk beds and room for extra activities and all that jazz. I get that people are excited about that, but DK Metcalf to me is kind of antithetical to what Aaron Rodgers likes in a wide receiver. His route running is not crisp. He's not a timing-based player. And for a guy who specializes in contested back shoulder fades being his number one throw of all time, DK Metcalf had a 22% success rate on press coverage with contested balls. That was like one of the lowest in the league for starting wide receivers last season. He's a big player. Like he's a huge jack dude that plays small. And to me, I think that could be a potential conflict of fit, especially when you kind of realize, like, at this point in his career, when we really zoom out on DK Metcalf, we take away like the yoked shirtless stuff and the hair and the visor and like all that stuff. He really kind of is a big body, deep threat wide receiver exclusively. Like he doesn't do anything really well at the position besides that. And Aaron Rodgers was 37th in 2024 on average depth of target last year in air yards. So there's 32 starting quarterbacks. So that means that backups were throwing the ball farther downfield than Aaron was last year. I just think it's an issue. And when I zoom out on the big picture of the offense, I look at this OC. To me, Arthur Smith is very much a square peg, round hole guy. He does not tend to adjust to personnel. He does not tend to change what he wants to run to fit what he has in the building. And neither does Aaron. I think that if this offensive line struggles the way it has, if Aaron Rodgers, again, last year, top 10 in sack rate, right? The Jets offensive line was not horrible. Aaron Rodgers takes sacks. He's not mobile. If Caleb Johnson isn't excellent, if this offensive line doesn't take a big step, if Arthur Smith can't spam the run with Caleb Johnson and Jalen Warren, I could just see this thing going sideways really fast offensively based on the inability for this offensive coordinator to adjust and this quarterback to throw the ball downfield consistently, get timing in the pocket consistently, working with a wide receiver one who doesn't fit his skill set, like flat out. And I'm not saying that DK doesn't have a curveball and can't become a different type of receiver this year, but we haven't seen it so far. He's been in the league how long? 8 years? So that's my concern offensively. What say you?
I think all that's correct.
Right.
I think DK Metcalf might be wide receiver 4. I think wide receiver 1 and 2 are going to be Jonnu Smith and Pat Freiermuth. I think wide receiver 3 could very potentially be Roman Wilson.
That's what Arthur Smith does, man. I mean, you're right.
That's what he does.
Right.
That's what he does.
But is DK okay with that?
No. But
Right.
it won't matter. It won't matter because it's going in the midst of the game. You know what Roman Wilson does well? It's open. What does Aaron love to do across the middle of the field?
Check it
What
down
has he shown to love to do
slot
over the
receivers.
last? Bro.
Yeah.
And this isn't like some proclamation. That's just a gut feeling. I don't think DK is going to have a huge piece in this offense. I think it's going to be very running back centric, and I think it's going to be a lot of the tight ends in the slot.
Well, it has to, but I'm saying that has to work, because if it doesn't, this team's not going to be able to win football games on the offensive side of the ball.
I mean, that's any team, right?
It is.
Got to work.
No, it is. It is. All I'm doing is I'm leaving the door open for that possibility. I'm trying to give you some numbers and some things to play around with that maybe this offense, like, because a lot of the narrative I think right now is, well, they got Rodgers, they got DK, like this is all going to kind of click. And I just think there's a real path with some of these conflicts of interest here, identity wise, that this doesn't.
You know what I would say to that too, which is it's all good. Like it's all good analysis, honestly.
Yeah.
I think what we're all doing as just like as a nation, as a football nation, basically, I think we're really downplaying this defense. I think this defense is going to be nice.
I think that's fair.
You brought in Derek Harmon in the first round. That dude's a fucking game wrecker. So you're putting Derek Harmon next to Cam Hayward, next to TJ Watt. You know, you even have what's the old boy from Ohio State? Jack Sawyer. They brought him in the third round. You know, rotational piece. I mean, he's not going to be a starter by any means, but it's a rotational piece. You're getting young depth, which I think is really impressive on a aging defense, but such a good defensive mind. And I think Derek Harmon's going to be really good in the NFL. So,
right.
That's, I mean, you know what I mean? Like you're letting Mike Tomlin do what Mike Tomlin does best, which is defense, right? Like I feel like they've been a little more offensive friendly in the first rounds in the last couple of years.
Yeah, well, they've tried to get tackles. They've tried to get something going, I think, offensively. Yeah. I think you're right about the rookies. I'm glad you brought that up, because I think also what is being a little under discussed defensively, two things, and then we'll get out of here. But I do think it's important to mention, because the defense is kind of the crown jewel of this team. Cam Hayward's 36. Ramsey is turning 31. I mean,
there's not much left. There's not much left.
You know, Jalen Ramsey, the whole thing of like Jalen Ramsey being washed is BS. He's played great, but he is turning 31 years old, and he plays a highly twitchy position. They're already talking about moving him into like nickel and safeties. That's something to keep an eye on.
Listen, they're a win now team who's not going to win now. It's not going to work.
No, for sure. But I'm saying, I mean, even going down the list, Darius Slay is going to be 35 by the time the season ends, right? That's a check engine light. Can I mention one more guy that I think needs to be mentioned here? When I have I think what you're saying is right. I looked at the draft picks and I'm looking at these guys and I'm like, every single one of these dudes is like a scrappy, fundamental good, like edge piece. Like, and we didn't even mention Alex Highsmith, who is incredibly underrated at that position.
Patrick Queen is also on
Patrick Queen had a good season.
Yeah.
I think the guy that I really want to focus on is TJ Watt. He's been in the headlines a lot because of the contracts, and I'm not going to do that thing of like, oh, he didn't deserve it. I mean, you and I have watched this dude be a superstar for 8-9 years. It feels like a long time. He's been crushing. But last year he didn't. And a lot of people are going to talk about the ankle injury with TJ Watt and say it was the ankle. Here's the thing. The ankle injury happened in week 14. So what I did was I was just looking at 1 through 14, some of the numbers, weeks 1 through 14, some of the metrics with TJ Watt. He was 46th in pass win rate and 24th in total pressures off the edge last year before the ankle.
Ooh, buddy.
So he, like, again, and I'm not, people are like, oh, he had kind of a down year. No, he wasn't even a top 15 to 20 level edge last season. Now, can he bounce back from that? Was that an outlier season? I personally think so. But that's another guy who is now on the other side of 30, just got a lot of money, and is coming off of, frankly, not just a down year, a bad year. I don't think people understand, because of the name, I don't think that people understand how bad he was last year in comparison to like what we've seen. Like not even the replacement level stuff from the pass rush position. So it's just something to keep an eye on. I hope that he has a bounce back year, but I think if he doesn't, that could also nerf this defense a little bit too, because he is such an X factor superstar guy that he's a force multiplier. And I think that's just an interesting thing that I kind of caught my eye when I was looking at some of the stuff from last year.
Yeah, no, that's facts.
We'll see.
Yeah,
We'll see.
we'll see.
I think you're right,
10 and
though.
7,
I mean,
maybe
yeah, I want to argue with it. I don't know that I can. I
10
mean,
and 7, getting blitzed by the Bills in round 1. Be there, be square.
and I'll see you next year for the same thing with different names.
100%.
Man, it's crazy. I guess I'll leave the fans with this. If Pittsburgh fans find this, are you guys? My question, kind of on the fade out here, would be: do you agree with Andy, and are you okay with that? Are you guys happy with kind of where things have been and where things are going? And do you think that you're a contender this year, or do you think that this guy's probably right? It's going to be a 10-7 year. Or do you think that I'm right? Like maybe this actually could be even worse. I don't know. Let us know. Thanks, man.
Peace.
Peace out.